Great. Okay, Matt, here we go. Let's make it happen. We don't need to do that. You guys already know that. So,
Well, I'll remind them real quick, just so they know to use the Q&A for their
all right.
questions.
Q&A for questions. Chat gets anything if we ask you to share something, which we're about to do, like how long you have been in the class or been a teacher. And I know that that is something that was asked before. What I'm really trying to figure out is and talk about is that this session is good for really anybody, even though I originally wrote it for very beginning teachers. The feedback I get from vet teachers is fantastic, and I like that. So throw that in there, and Matt in a moment's going to give me kind of a ballpark on what we have here, and I'm going to roll in and get started. And this is what we're going to be covering. So I will simply tell you I'm Loyal Frazier, 35-year high school teacher. Been with TCI as a trainer for 32 years, been using it in my classroom since my second month as a teacher. Started in California, went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo after being born in Ventura. Moved to Colorado for 12 years, wanted to put family together. So I ended up in Oklahoma, starting my seventh year there with my wife of 28 years and 2 days, six kids, eight grandkids, two dogs, and it's a weird, wild, wacky thing, and I love it. And my favorite thing about teaching is building the culture. So we're going to look quickly at why building a positive culture is important. And I know people would say, well, duh, but there's some data on it. And so I'll share a little bit with you. I'm going to give you a framework that I developed that helps people and certainly helped me when I came up with it. So feel free to use that if you want to. And then we're just going to go through super quick what I do for 5 days with a lot of other ideas. And then hopefully some of those things that you shared for the first day, you're going to be able to plug into this and maybe build a framework. If you're here, this matters to you. And so I hope we're going to give you some ideas. So here we go. What do we already know about culture in the classroom? You will know this intuitively if you have taught more than 5 minutes. But each classroom or period that you have, and a lot of us that are on here teach 5 periods a day if you're a secondary teacher, it develops its own culture and feel. You can walk into somebody else's classroom and you will feel it. And I get that comment from people all the time when they come into my classroom on the feel of the room. And I love that. Uh, but just like a dog who has not been trained, the class is going to run itself. It's going to come up with its own culture if we don't set one up that is very self sustaining. And I can tell you, I have felt earlier in my career very schizophrenic because I had five distinct cultures out of five classes. And I was the one that had to adapt to each of my classes. And it's very difficult to change a culture in a school, in a business, or in a classroom or on a team if we don't do this, I'll say in quotes, right, because there's lots of right ways to do this kind of thing from the beginning. So there's a guy that did a ton of research on this. I think his first name is Alan November, and he says we have to be intentional about the atmosphere we wish to create. The first thing I was given when I started teaching a million years ago was the Ken Wong, the Wong book, which is really written for elementary. Nothing wrong with it. I read it and I got some great ideas out of it. And I learned a lot of things from elementary school teachers that I incorporated and sort of made it high schoolish. But it wasn't enough for me. It was essentially one group of kids. I had five group of kids, et cetera, et cetera. And so when I read that about November, it made sense. It resonated with me. And positive culture improves a teacher's ability to teach what are called soft skills, which are all these other skills that we are now tasked with helping students learn, as well as improving learning. That came out of the University of Missouri, for those of you that care about all of that. So I used that to help write what I'm about to write. So here we go. For the chat, if you'll throw it in there, what do you think is the number one reason students misbehave? Especially, we're focusing on secondary classroom, but I would argue this is true for elementary as well. So hopefully you're just going to very quickly put it in there. And then as I'm going through this, maybe Matt's going to be able to share with me what maybe if is there an overwhelming one because it's boredom and I forgot I put that in there. So boredom's
Boredom
the
is
one.
is overwhelming, not
Overwhelmed.
engaged. They
Yes.
don't want to do it. Bored. Yeah,
They're bored,
bored is
bored, bored.
definitely winning the yes.
Yes. And I'll tell you that TCI, one of our main things is to engage. And if you know anything about TCI, then you know that. But the issue with that is I've got to set up a culture where I can do TCI the right way. Because let's face it, we do some weird things in TCI and our expectations are kind of high. And if my culture is not set up in a way that I can operate all those, a lot of what I do in TCI is not going to work the way it should work. So I'm going to try and help with that. So there's some other reasons I don't understand the rules. Testing authority. If you have taught long enough, then you might already know that the third week of school is testing week. Not you giving them a test. It's kids testing you. Is this person for real? Did he mean what he said? He did. If I do such and such, and then asserting independence is a thing in teenagers as well. But boredom. I mean, it's not close for that being the reason it's boredom. Okay. So here's where we're going to start. This is building sort of that framework. I call this my OSBs. I wanted to call it my SOBs, but I thought that might offend some people. So it's OSBs. It stands for observable student behaviors. And I put in parentheses that word measurable. I probably came up with this idea about, I don't know, a dozen years ago when I was really formalizing this, hard to make a professional development around it. Um, what would you want a visitor in your classroom after the second week of school? So in that third week, you've had 2 weeks to finalize your culture that you want. What do you want them to see happening in your class if they walked in sometime after the second week? Now, if you've got one that pops to mind right now, throw it in the chat because we're going to see if Matt can give us a few that people have. And I'm going to share with you I made 5. There is absolutely no magic to the number 5. I would say the number 3 is pretty magical. And so we want to try and have 3. Now, while you're popping those in before I share mine, my point of this is as follows. I don't want people to come into my classroom and watch me. They should watch the students and they're going to know what I've done by observing my students. And I give them a little sheet of paper with my 5 OSBs on it. And I expect feedback from the person visiting me so that I can get better. You're going to see what I mean when I show you my 5. Any stand out, Matt, that people have thrown in there?
I mean, I think we got the gifted and talented group. I mean, they get it. Engaged. When you come in,
Yeah.
you want to see students engaged. I'm
Okay.
seeing, enthusiasm, respect,
Good.
body language shows like eyes on the presenter,
Good.
participating, excitement, those types of things.
And those are all great. You're going to see some of that in mine, but I'm going to emphasize that word measurable. So let's see. Let's see what I should put one of those in the chat. I didn't click it. So these are my 5, and you can see how this is measurable. I want 100% of my students actively involved in whatever it is that I'm having them do 100% of the time. When I was taught how to do SMART goals, they always put in stuff like, well, 80% of students actively involved 80% of the time. And I'm like, in a class of 30 kids, that means I've got 6 kids out in left field. That is way too much and distracting for me. So I want 100%. And if I'm off 100%, I want to be able to go have a conversation with whatever kid I need to have a conversation. Now, this one's not very measurable. I understand that. But I want there to be a cooperative, helpful environment. Students helping each other, students helping me out, me helping students out. I want to foster that in my classroom. Students working, the teacher helping, but it's obviously I'm in charge. This is one that there's no measure, but it should be very, very obvious that the students are working harder than I am, but I did hard work to get the class set up to do what it's supposed to do. That I have to tell you is key. If I'm working my tail off every single period and my kids are sitting there like lumps copying notes down, man, I'm going to be exhausted at the end of the day and I'm going to be looking for a job pretty quick somewhere else. I want this sense that students want to be there, and I actually encourage people on the little piece of paper, feel free to walk around and ask kids, Do you like being here? But I use that word engaging as well because of that boredom factor. I want my kids to want to be in my class every day. When they make a doctor's appointment, I tell them, go miss math. Don't miss my class. And of course, the math teachers hate me, and that's okay. That's what you get for teaching math. And I want to be highly participatory. I could put a number on that, but sometimes it's very difficult for what I'm doing. But if it's the kids working on something, it should be 100%. If it's me having a classroom discussion, it should be a whole bunch of them. So I leave that one a little open. I could take that one out and say, well, I'm doing engaging. That's participatory. But in my mind, that's a little bit different. You can feel free to jot any of those down if you want to. This is being recorded. A lot of stuff's going to be in a folder for you that I share with you here, and you can jump into that folder and download. It's a Google Drive folder that we make for you for this. But that is what I want to foster. And so now here's the trick. I now need to go backwards and intentionally, according to November, build my class. I use 5 days. If your district won't give you 5, it's got to be less. Great. I used to use 8. I pared it down. You never really stop with culture, but in 5 days, I've got mine the way I want it to be. I take 5 more days where we're fine tuning it, and then I will let people come into my class if I want to. I let a guy come in first day once. He wanted to see what I did first day, but he was a distraction because kids liked him, and I won't let him in anymore. So I take 5 days and I build around 3 topics. Here they are: relationships, and in this order: relevance, and one of the most misapplied words in education, rigor. And so the 2 that I hit in the first 5 days hard are relationships and relevance. I want relationships built, and I want them to understand the relevance of my particular class to their lives. And what it really does is sets me up to be rigorous. TCI is actually very rigorous if you understand the definition is not more work. It's a change in the type of work that we do, the way we engage their brains. I'm just set up to be rigorous, and they don't even know I'm rigorous. So you won't see rigor today because I'm really focused on these first 2, but that's my pattern right there. So my relationship building, even though it always builds, I focus on it for approximately 3.5 days. How's that for precise? Days 1 and 2, I'm going to build relationships by them getting to know me first. It's all about praise in the first 2 days. Reason? If they know about me and I've been transparent to whatever degree is comfortable. For me, I'm very transparent. But to whatever degree you want to let them in your world a little bit, then that allows them to have a little trust with you, and they're more likely to open up to you moving forward. And then for day 3, 3.5, then relationships are built with student to student and student to me by introducing structure and relevance and learning about the kids a little bit. So here we go. Day 1 in my classroom, this is what I do. And I'm going to give you lots of ideas, and you could throw them all away, but take away the idea of structure and OSBs, and that's a giant win. But you don't have to build the beginning culture that I have. You need to build the culture that you want. And that's the key for this one, okay? I greet students at the door each and every day. I have read a number of studies that say kids have positive contact with an adult, an average of 3 times per day. Blows my mind. So I actually greet them at the door when they come in and greet them when they leave. I get 2 minimum. They could get their whole day's supply just from me. I introduce myself to them, and I introduce my room to them because I very intentionally set up my room the way I want it. And there are some things in there that are different from them that they need to understand. I've got a whole shtick that I go through when I do this. And you'll see that a teeny bit of it. Then I take roll by trying to get their name. So after they've heard my little deal about me and my weird name of Loyal and what they can call me, etc., then I take roll and I try and get them. And while I'm doing this, I'm trying to learn their names because if we start on a Monday, by Friday, I want to know every kid's name if I pass them in the hallway. That's my goal. And then I run an activity and I'll share that with you. And then we take off. And so part of my deal in my introduction, I have a whole slide presentation. There's a number of pictures, but I share me. And one of the things I share, here's a lot of those 17 that I told you about. It's hard to get them all together in a room now at the same time without somebody being gone. My wife, who will celebrate 28 years with me, I say celebrate. She might more lament it. I'm not sure. 2 days from now. And a bunch of my grandkids are right here. That's my son-in-law. There's my newest grandkid. He's 2. He's a cutie. I take pictures like this and share who I am, where I've come from, what I've done, etc. Takes me a good 10, 12 minutes to do that. Very purposeful, so that they know who I am a little bit. Then that's my intro. Oh, this is some. Okay, I guess I put some of my slides in. Sorry, I forgot I did that. These are my 4 kids, 3 of which are adopted. I have 2 step kids that are not in this picture. There's my wife again. There's the 2-year-old, a little bit up close. There's a whole story about how my son-in-law and daughter adopted 6 kids because they wanted a big family, couldn't have any. Daughter got her thyroid fixed, lost 60 pounds. Boop, there's this guy right there. What a connection for all the kids in my class that are in foster care and adopted. Already I've made connections that if I hadn't bothered to share all those things wouldn't be out there. So I've introduced myself, my room. I've now taken roll, trying to make little notes on that on who's who. Here's my first day activity. I do not want to do what everybody does. I want my class to be different. When kids go home the first day and the parents go, how was school? You know, what was your favorite class? I want them to say Fraser because they won't remember it's a history class because I never talk about history or government or econ, anything on the first day. Mine is how to be successful in school. This document will be in the folder if you want it. I give them these 16 things by themselves, and they have to rank them from what is the most important thing on here to help them be successful to the least. I only give them like 2 minutes to do it. It's supposed to be fast. And you'll see that I've got cheat as much as you can on here. And you'll see that I have, where's my other one? Fall asleep in class. That's one that's on here. And so I'm going to learn who the jokesters are now when they're going to put that that's the number one thing. But they do that. Then I let them group up in groups of 3 or 4. And I don't care how they group today. Doesn't make any difference to me. But they're going to get there. Then in their group, they're going to pick the top 3, 1, 2, 3, and number 16. And then I actually have this up on the screen on my whiteboard. And I take a spokesperson from each one and I mark it all up. And I pick the 3 that the class picked and the number 16. And that gives me time to share with them how I think they could be very successful in my class and how they should go into their next classes. I've got things you should walk up and tell your teacher, shake hands and tell them your name, and that you're going to get an A in the class and sit in the front row. I mean, I do this whole shtick with it, but it lets them know that number 1, I want them to be successful in class. Number 2, nobody else does anything like this. And number 3, they hear a little bit from me in the very beginning that I want them to be successful and how that can happen. And then I end the day with this phrase, day 1, every class, what supplies they're going to need, and this will be your favorite class. And that's important. They snicker, a whole bunch of them laugh, but you'd be shocked at the number at the end of the year, the number of kids that said, remember the first day you said this is going to be my favorite class? And I go, oh yeah, I guess I did say that. They said, well, you were right. And that's what I want. That's part of the culture that I'm trying to create. That's my day 1, all done. And so here are some alternatives, and you guys have some alternatives. I have some teachers that I know that do a This Is My Life packet, and they put together an artifact packet of 6 to 8 things about them. They may put in a picture of their twin sister. They may put in a picture of their their diploma or whatever, anything they want to share. And they have the kids go through. And what they're also teaching at the same time is document analysis, which is something that we do in history classes often. And the kids are learning about the teacher that way. And then the teacher will have a little conversation with them. I haven't done this one because I'm very successful with the other one. I love this idea to be able to make that one happen. You could do, and Matt told me a couple of people had scavenger hunt in there, which is fantastic. These 2 documents are in the document folder if you want them. Lost on the Moon, Lost at Sea. There's one Stranded in the Desert. Just anything that's different that's going to sort of point them in the cultural direction you want them to go. It's a super successful day. I'm actually working harder than the students on that day. I get it, but I have to do that for a little while until I get the culture set. Okay. That's my day one. And in the chat, if there's something from today that this day one that you already found that, hey, that's intriguing, I may want to do that, pop that in the chat. Matt will let me know what any of them are, and that would be fantastic. And we're going to move on to day two. Just checking my time because I'll lose time in this one. Still building relationships. This one uses 3x5 cards and an autograph icebreaker, it's called. And so I still greet him at the door. I still verbally am taking roll. You'll see when that stops for me. And then I run these two activities. And so the 3x5 card is a ton of fun for me. I actually do this one thing at a time for them, but I give each of them a 3x5 card, and it's numbered in such a way that it will help me make my seating chart. I let the kids make their seating chart with this caveat. I am going to attempt to treat you as much like an adult as I possibly can. You must act like one, and adults choose where they want to sit. And so you get to choose. If you act like a third grader, I will have to take charge. They've been told 100 times they're going to be treated like an adult, and most of my students will tell me they don't ever feel like they have been. They might have been, and they don't even really know what it means. But I have several ways baked in that I'm going to do that for them. So I share my whole name, and they laugh and haha, and then they'll put their whole name, specifically what they want to be called. I don't put my address, but I'm in Ada, Oklahoma is where I am, and I'll tell them I live by the park, and that's fine. I either put my phone number or a remind thing or whatever my particular school uses as a way for them to get a hold of me. My parents' names. I have a shtick for a lot of these things. My dad's from West Virginia. No offense if you're from there, but land of the weird names, and I share all my family weird names that are weirder than loyal. I put things that I do if I coach or if I whatever. So now I'm going to find out when I look through these cards who plays a sport, who's a cheerleader, who doesn't do anything. Really key to know. I give them my actual birthday, and then that's my first bonus question on a quiz. And their birthday goes down there, and then I have a way where I don't embarrass them, but I say happy birthday to them when the time comes. I don't want to let that get away. I'm allergic to penicillin. That's a very funny story as well. I tell them they can't be allergic to dust or homework. And here's my real key. Anything they need me to know, and they have to write something. Some of them will just write, have a nice day. But they get to write, I don't read very well. I've never liked history. I've always struggled in it. I'm adopted too. I have autism, whatever it is. I'd love to tell you that I can read through all of my students' files before school starts. I don't have that in me. And there must be a 15% changeover in the first week anyway. So it's not going to happen. I want them to tell me they know nobody sees this card but me. And when that's all done, I collect them in the order that I want them. And that night, I sit down and I actually make the seating chart, going through and putting notes on it, learning kids' names as I go. And the next day when they come in, I take roll with my seating chart the way I make it. And I'm really going to start to learn names at that point in time. So when that's done, Matt?
Hey, Loyal. A lot
Yeah.
of people are asking where they can get these documents and things like that.
So there is a file in the Google Drive. I think it should be shared with them. That is going to be for all the sessions. And in the session or in the file, it will say Loyal's documents or something like that. I'll have my name on it. And you click in there, there's going to be like 8 of them. So this isn't in there because this is just a blank 3x5 card, but you're also going to get access to every recording. And so if you've forgotten something, you could pop in here and fast forward to the part you want, and there it'll be for you. Okay. And I think they share that with you at the very end, how to get into that document. The autograph icebreaker is awesome. It's actually a TCI thing that in a book that you'll get a QR code to here in a minute, but I made it for me. This is not the whole thing, but this is the first thing that gets the kids up and moving around in a traditional icebreaker format. They have to find some things on here that are true for them. I put in the for you, Chigger is the only one. And they'll go around and meet other kids, and I actually teach them how to shake hands and how to introduce themselves. I don't know if you've noticed this, but they sure as heck don't know how to do that. And so I teach them how to do that and why and the whole bit. And then they get to go around and initial. I'm doing this as well, shaking hands, initialing things. And I start by sharing number 7. I have a whole story about when I got braces in 7th grade, which was the worst year of my life, and the whole bit. And then I tell them, you don't have to do that, a whole story, but you have to ask a follow-up question because I want to get some dialogue going. A lot of these kids have been in the same school for 5 years. They don't know who they are. They just know the face. They don't know the name. I want that to change. And so I'm a big Diet Coke guy. So is Matt. We share. That's why we're together on this one. Matt's had 8 today already. He didn't want me to tell you that, but and so you can have this document as well, and you can change it, make it up. It's pretty awesome. And when I'm done with this, I end the day with what supplies I want on Thursday. That's the day I want them to have them. And I say goodbye, stand at the door, fist bump or whatever on the way out. Other things you could do besides the autograph icebreakers, really any icebreaker that you like. But we have one in the book. You're going to get a QR code here called Multiple Intelligence Bingo. That one works as well. It's whatever works for you. This is like insert your own icebreaker, but it's a good time to do one of those to get the kids interacting with each other. Okay. If you have an icebreaker that you know is good, you want to share with everybody, you could pop that in there and that might help people. And I'll bet you if you just take the name of it, throw it into Google, that you'll be able to get a whole readout of what that thing is. Okay. Matt?
Yeah, I just did. Sarah just put a link in the chat to that drive right now, so if people want to go ahead and go in there. But I think she put it to oh, she didn't put it to everyone, she just put it to me. So let me get it and I'll just put it to
Throw
everyone.
it in there. Awesome.
I'm
And
gonna
this will
throw it in the
this will get
chat
you
right now. Hopefully that will work. I'm gonna
this will
put it
get
to
you a
everybody.
document from every session, not just this one.
I think
I think. Pretty sure.
yeah.
Well, Matt's going to explore that.
Yep.
All right, so
So,
we're gonna jump into day 3. I'm still building relationships. You may notice that I've not gone over any rules in my class or expectations or anything. That was very purposeful. You don't have to be as comfortable with that as I am, but I think by 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, they know how to behave and not behave in a classroom. And I'm going to prove that to them about that, treating them like an adult by the fact that nobody went crazy in day 1 or day 2. But I do have some expectations, some rules I'm going to lay out. Greet, roll now with the seating chart. And then I'm going to play the game, run the Desk Olympics, and give them Fraser's rules to live by. Okay. And that will be my structure and how things work. Here's the game. Super easy. You don't need a document for it. I learned this from a 7th grade teacher about 100 years ago. Fabulous. You need a foam ball, a light ball, a ball that could not possibly hurt anyone, even if you make it out of paper. And you need a place to keep score on a giant Post-it note, a whiteboard, whatever. That's it. That's all you need. And then you're going to give them verbal directions that I'm going to give you right now. I didn't write them down because it's so easy. I tell them that we're going to play a game because we've been working so hard for the first 2 days. Haha. And then I draw a T-chart on my board and I say, I'm going to break the class in half right here. And so however you can break them in half, it doesn't have to be exact. And I'm going to keep score on the board. And I'll point to one half and I'll say, you are team number 1. And then I'll point to the other half and I'll say, you are team, and I'll pause and they'll say number 2 and I'll say team A. I always want to keep them guessing. And I say, we're going to use this ball. I'm going to keep score on this board. It's going to be this half against this half. Are there any questions? I don't want to confuse you. I know it's the 3rd day of school. You're all really tired. Do I have any questions? They don't have any. I take the ball, I drop it on the ground, and I say, go. And they stare at each other and they giggle, and some kid will go, what do we do? do? And I just stand there and I've got my hand ready to give points. And some brave kid will get up and pick up the ball and I give his side a point. And then he'll throw it to somebody on his side and I'll give him a point. And then they'll throw it to somebody on their side and I won't give them a point. And then a kid will do some trick with it and I'll give them a point. And then they'll throw it to the other side and I'll give them a point. They'll throw it back. I won't give them a point. And I'm going to just confuse the living daylights out of them. And I have a specific ending that I have in mind. I actually have three, whatever they are, it doesn't matter because kids talk during the day. But I have a little Nerf hoop in my room, and so maybe that's the one. I have a chair sitting next to me. Maybe putting the ball in the chair is the one. And if it goes really long, and by really long I mean like over 3 minutes, I just stand there with my hand out and I quit putting points on the board until a kid comes up and puts it in my hand. And so if I don't want him to put it in the basket, some kid will think it should go in the basket. They'll go throw it. I'll take 50 points off. I mean, I am just going to mess with them on the points very purposefully until somebody puts it in my hand, let's say. And then I go and I circle the board. I go, this team won and you guys are fantastic and you're wonderful. And I look at the other side, I go, what happened to you guys? And they're like, we didn't know what to do. And we get in this really cool discussion. Because what happens with kids all the time is you may give them a rubric. You may explain it in writing. You may explain it in written form. You may have it on Google Classroom. You may have it everywhere, and they're still going to get lost. Or they're going to say they didn't understand, but they were too scared to ask a question or whatever it is. But I can't tell you how many times I've given kids a rubric, they've turned an assignment in and they've left two columns of the rubric. They didn't even do it. And so I want to set the expectation that I am not going to let them be confused. I'm going to explain things in such a way that they'll always know what to do. But if it escapes them, if they're absent, if they're anything, they need to ask a question and take charge of their own education. And that's it for that. And it's a fabulous thing to do. I have an alternate one to do at the end if you like. But when we give a paper to the kid with all of our rules and stuff on it, and they take it home to the family and have the parents sign it, the parents sign it, nobody reads it. It never gets read by anybody. But I'm going to now make sure they know all of my things, and so will their parents. So I play something called the Desk Olympics. This is a TCI original. It is in the book. When you do the QR code, you'll be able to get it, but it's really simple. There are ways in my classroom I'm going to need them to move their desks or tables or whatever they have and be very quick about it, ready to go when they get there. My goal is that I will tell them to move into, let's say, groups of 3 and look like this with their notebook, their highlighter, their pens, and greet their partners in under 90 seconds for a substitute teacher. And I'm going to get it because I trained my dog once and I know how to do it. And when you get to this QR code, whenever it comes up, it's on page 22 for you on that one. I do 2s, which I think is the top 2. I do 2s like this. I do 3s like this. I do 4s like this. I never do 5s anymore in my particular classroom. So I need to train them. So the first day after they've done the game, I put them in 3s. 3s is actually the trickiest one because it looks weird, but they're set up like this on purpose because if I follow this line right here, it would go up to the screen in the front of the room where I am, and I want everybody to see it. I actually set up the room like this ahead of time and hang things from the top so that they know where the groups would go. And they have to look up and they'd see it. And I go through and I number them 1, 2, if I have 10 groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, do it again, make sure everybody knows where they are. And then I have the Olympic music and they're going to scream and yell. If it needs to be silent, you make the rule that it's silent. And I time them. Maybe if I have tables, it might look like this. What did I have next? Oh, let me get out of here. And I actually time them and I'll keep a time for all my classes. I feed the winning class. And the first group of 3 that gets there did everything I wanted, have all the stuff out. They actually slam their hands on the desk and throw them up in the air and yell, we're a team. And then when they're done, I actually have a reward for them as well. It's crazy. It's fun, which is the way that I want it. And it gets them to a place that I want them to be. I do 1 of these on day 3, 1 on day 4, 1 on day 5. And by the end, then I can keep the score and run it all up. It doesn't have to be crazy. But if you want your class to be efficient, they need to be able to move efficiently. And if you've done TCI for a while, you know we're in pairs and threes a lot and occasionally in fours. And they need to know how to do that. And then I give them Fraser's rules to live by, of which there are 10. I actually cut them into strips and I cut the little numbers off and I put them in an envelope and every group gets it. And they now take the strips out. They're going to go through them and they're going to put them in order. And I really only care about the top three, but they're going to put them in order from what's going to help them be the most successful in class. And then they have to come up with a question. And my little circles are weird for late work. I give them 3 times to turn work in late without an excuse, no questions asked, for full credit. Each of these circles is a day. 1 assignment, 3 days, 3 assignments, 1 day, extra points in their notebook score if they don't use any of them. Hall passes. You want to go to the restroom? There's your hall pass. I had kids tardy 15 times but they wanted extra credit for their 4 hall passes. So I had to put this little thing in. We're just going to take that tardy takes 1 away from you because I'm not going to give you extra credit for that. It doesn't even matter what they are, but they put them in order. We talk about them. I point out some things that are very important to them. And then I give them a full sheet that they're going to be able to take home and let their parents sign it now. Now, will the parents read it? Maybe, maybe not. But if the kids know it and they're breaking something and I go to the parent says, I didn't know, I'll just say, you signed it. You shouldn't have bought the swampland in Louisiana. So your rules don't have to be my rules. Doesn't matter what they are. But I would say too many rules hurts. My daughter's math teacher in middle school had 7 pages of rules, single spaced, before it took him 3 class periods to go over all the rules. Most unruly class I've ever seen. They didn't understand it. They didn't care by that point in time. So lots of fun. Then I make them put the desks back where they belong. We practice that. Matt?
Got a question from Thomas. What do you feed them?
It depends on if I like them or not. No, it doesn't depend on it. I basically will bring donuts. That seems to be the thing that works for them. If that doesn't sit well with anybody, little packets of M&Ms. I'm a big M&M guy. M&Ms make friends. I've got a tie for it and stuff. It doesn't matter if you're anti-sugar. I don't know. Bring celery. It's just something that's easy and cheap. I don't want to spend a lot of money. It's 1 class that I feed, so it's like 30 kids. I can handle a couple of dozen donuts. So.
And
But feed them
Loyal, just
whatever you
to
want.
give you a heads up, you got a 7-minute warning.
See, I wanted a 15, man. Okay.
You were on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, I didn't want to
sorry.
interrupt. Okay. So then I tell them remind them about the supplies for the next day, day 4. For me, it's Thursday because we start on a Monday. And the alternative is the game, which is called Build This. I just give them a bunch of supplies, paper clips, pens, scissors, rulers, tape, whatever. I give it all to them. I give them the same vague instructions. And the first group to build something that uses all of the supplies, no matter what it is, wins. It's the same confusing thing. I use it for my juniors who've already seen my game as a sophomore. So it works great. Any way you want to get into it works. I will tell you, if you do TCI, you're putting your kids in pairs or groups a lot. So if that goes in the chat, great. Now I got to get to some relevance. So this is faster, and that's good. I get this question from kids all the time. Why do we need to take this class? And they ask math and they ask English. And basically what kids are asking is, why do I need to go to school? And that answers itself. But part of my answer is this. I do the next round of Desk Olympics. I take time to set up their notebook. I have them do an icebreaker called the clock. And if I have time, I do something about why study history. So day 2 for me is 4s. They get into their 4s the same way I got them into their 3s. Then I have them set up their hard copy interactive student notebook because that's what I use. And I have certain pages I want in certain places. So I hand them out. They've brought all their supplies now. So they trim, they glue, they stick it all in there, tape it, whatever it is. And now they have a notebook that we're going to start using on day 4. And the first thing that goes in the notebook is the clock. If you've never done the clock, they just draw this in, and they're going to make 12 partners. Now I have some things in the folder for you that are different that I'll show you in a second. but they put their name in the middle. They go around and they make 12 appointments with people. I actually take every absent kid and make a clock for that kid as well. So I'm letting them pick their partner, but I'm not letting them be with the same partner all the time. It's magic. So I don't ever have to make pairs. And I love that. And so the next time we do this, I'll say it's 7 o'clock. Malachi and Aiden will get together and be partners. Somebody's absent, they come up, I take care of it, and I still make my 90-second setup time frame, which is what I want. Okay. So why study history? I'm telling you, there are so many videos out there about dumb people answering questions that they should know. Dumb. But if you've never seen Miss South Carolina, I'll let you look that up. It's older now, but it's priceless. All kinds of guys. Jay Leno did jaywalking. I show them some, and I tell them the reason you need to learn history so you don't embarrass me when you ask those questions. But I can go in any depth that I want to, and so can you. Okay. But you'll see one called Meet Me at the Pole or Famous Places, that they're great for geographical kinds of things. Same principle there in the folder. Okay. Any comedy history guy is great. And day 5 is maybe my favorite one because now I got everything in place. I do the last Olympics. I do something called the employer wrap. Whoops. Where they're going to list 5 qualities they think employers want in employees. Then somebody will always say to be smart, and I'll maybe help them change it to intelligent, whatever, but we're going to make a list. I get 30 to 35 on my whiteboard, just crazy list of things people think they want. We get a great discussion. What's the most important, etc. But the question that I really ask, did I not put it here? And this is where I ask them what they put in why. And then I get to ask them, uh, which of these do we teach you in school? I want to see if I do it great here. Oh, so the third one is pairs. I let them talk about their answers. The big question, how many of these do we actively teach in school? And the answer is, for what they put up there, usually none, even though some of them will put punctual. But a lot of schools let you be tardy a gazillion times a year. We're not actually teaching you it's important to be punctual. We're just telling you. And then I get to share the list. And this is about the last thing. This is what employers say. They want a strong work ethic. They want good interpersonal skills. They want honesty and integrity. And they want great communication skills. They never say we want you to be good at math or reading. Not that you shouldn't be good at math or reading, but they can actually teach you that more easily than they can teach you this. Okay. And so I know I'm rushing, but that's okay. The last thing I end the 5th day with is this. I
Hey,
show
real
them the
quick,
short.
Loyal. I just
Yeah.
got a message that this one goes a little 5 minutes longer than we thought. So you actually have
So
it.
you lied to me.
You have
Matt lied
seven
to me.
minutes. Bye.
Oh gosh. He did that on purpose because I made the Diet Coke comment. I don't know what to do. I will slow down just a little. But this is fascinating for kids to get, and this speaks to relevance for my class because while reading and even occasionally math will enter into my class, this is every day in my class expectation for me and what I'm going to try to get out of them, because I think they need me more when they're trying to go to college, get a job, and run their life than they need me right now in school. And so this stuff really important, and those are my expectations of them. And we'll spend a few minutes talking about that. But the last 10 or 12 minutes of day 5, I will show them a short little clip of the Matrix, and you probably know what one. And I didn't want to put this particular picture in there, but they wouldn't let me put M&M. This looks like I'm offering them drugs, but I actually have a picture of M&Ms. And I have 2 bowls of M&Ms, a blue bowl and a red bowl. I play the little clip all the way just before Neo goes and reaches for one, and I pause it. And then I tell them, I have done my absolute best sales pitch on you for this class. I want you in this class, but I want you to understand there's an expectation that I have. You're going to do everything that I tell you to do, and you're going to trust it's the best thing for you academically. You're going to behave in the manner in which I've asked you to behave. And you're going to do those things. If you don't want to do those things, you need to take the pill that says, I want out of the story. If you agree you're going to do those things, I always forget which one's which. So you're going to take the pill that says, I'm in. And I'm getting them to make a commitment and a sense, give their word to me. And that will come back later on in week 3 and beyond when they start to test me. I get to remind them, you gave me your word that you were going to do this. And as they leave the classroom, they come and they pick whichever one they're gonna pick. Now, you're thinking to yourself, what if they pick the wrong one, whatever that one is, the red one? I've had that happen once, although I have a lot of kids kind of try and fake me out, and they pick the right one. So I had a kid do it once. I had a conversation with a kid. He says, "I'm not in 5 days. He had been absent 3 and tardy 1. He only showed up one day the first day, and on that day he had his feet up on the desk in front of him, and I had to tell him to take him down. He's not going to be successful. I actually went to the counselor and said he's not going to be successful in my class. Explained why. He moved him, and the kid wasn't successful there either. But he wasn't a deterrent to my class. If he'd been there, I would have had the conversation. I would have gone through the process. But counselors understand if they know it's going to be a problem, maybe they'll help. So every other kid has picked the right one. Now, if that is not great, a contract is great. If you've got younger kids and you want to have them draw a picture of an agreement, that is great. But it's anything where they give their word. I cannot tell you how important I believe buy-in is for these kids. And if I have done those 5 days well, rigor flows right from that, and they don't even know it's being rigorous. And I have lots of stories I could tell about that, but I absolutely don't have the time. There is the code to get a toolkit that has pictures of the clock and the desk Olympics and some things like that. But then my documents have 7 or 8 of those things that I just specifically made or got access to that you can get as well. And if you need me to come back to this at the end, I will. But I just wanted to thank you for attending. That's my email address. You need anything else? I want you to hit me up with that email address. I got a little thing of my granddaughter here who fell asleep. I got permission to play it. She fell asleep like this years ago. She's 9 now. I don't care. This is the funniest thing I ever saw from a kid. And you're going to be moving on. Whoops, maybe I'm not going to be able to do that. Stop you. Go. There it goes. Whoops. So if you didn't get this thing about the $100 gift card and the TCI Alpaca, which is what it really is, there it is for you. Again, and the list for what's coming up next is right here. So if you've yet to decide, there's more choices in that third one than there are in any of the other ones. I hope this was useful for you. If you need to send me a note, please do. I love that. This is my passion. Make those OSBs. Have fun creating. School doesn't start for a few days for most of you. And have a great third session. Thanks for being here.